Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another edition of this week's MMA Huddle. As always, you're joined by myself and the ever handsome Big Willie style. Great to have you here, bro. And we are going to be breaking down the talisman of heavyweight MMA, Alistair Overeem against Sakai, or Augusto Sakai, or if it's Brazilian, I'm not sure if they pronounce the A. It might be Augusto Sakai. We'll obviously have a quick chat about Smith and Rakitic card last week. But before we do that, ladies and gentlemen, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you for all the new members. Give a like on the video. Give us a comment below about your picks for the fight card, or also any bets and stuff like that. We love the interactions we get on the cards, on the breakdowns that we do in the comment section below. We are quite grateful for the amount of subscribers we've been getting, considering we had COVID this year. We're technically ahead of our predicted numbers, even with COVID. So let's keep it up, guys and girls. Now let's jump into this fight card, Will. Actually, no, tell a lie. Let's stop. Rakitic, Smith. Smith came out with the comments saying Rakitic was huge, big weight decision. Smith talking, look at that, had that TV gig, and look how he's changed his attitude about the fight game. Hey, he's thinking, I'm getting paid without getting punched. Maybe that's a new venture. But apart from that, Will, what about any other fights on the card that stuck out to you, bro?
I must say I was quite impressed by Rakic's kind of game plan, like how he went in there and kind of. The guy's got some really wicked leg kicks when he puts them all together. He really does. But regarding other people on the card, Neil Magny, like I know I picked against him.
Yeah.
But I did say to my one I said on here, it's like it wouldn't surprise me if he kind of rounded out a 30-27 across the cards, because I think he's got some big things in that division where he's got a lot of advantages over people, and he can use him. He's a smart fighter, so he stood out. I really like that Impa Kasaganai, I think that's how you say it. I'm not sure. I thought, for considering it's a short turnaround after the Dana White show, 3 weeks later against a guy like Maki Pitolo, who's very experienced, been in the UFC, won UFC fights, and like I did not expect him to like really stand there and really swing with Maki for 15 minutes, and he did. So that he impressed me. Sean Brady to me looks a little dark horse in that division to maybe one day be a top 15 guy. He looks like he can put everything together very well. So yeah, they were the people. Brady and Impa were really the ones that really stood out to me, along with Rakic, who I thought game planned really well and fought smart and never really took any big shots, and we'll probably see him back in there very, very soon again against a guy I would reckon, another guy inside the top 5, because Smith was ranked number 5. So all in all, it was a great start to the card. It was 4 subs, so they got reeled off like that, and then it kind of moved into decision mode. But there was some exciting fights. That Lamas Algio fight was a really, really good fight as well. So
another guy talking retirement.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me, and that's not a good look if he does fight in the UFC again, and he's talking about retirement and so on. I think Algio gave him some problems I did not expect, so I think there's other guys in there that can see that value in Ricardo Lamas, kind of itching a scene like Lerone Murphy was.
I saw
kind
that.
That's smart in my opinion. Get a name guy like. So I think he would do good things against Lamas at this point now. So smart call out if he can get the fight, but who knows. But if you're talking retirement, you might as well just kind of walk away and don't stick around and kind of get beat up for it, because that's what's going to happen now that people know that your 1 foot's kind of out the door and you're ready to go. So, but like I say, Impa and Sean Brady really, really impressed me on last week's card.
And if you're the UFC, you're going to use him to make a name with someone as well. Yeah. So that's something you've got to take into account. UFC, if they know you're going to retire, they don't care. They'll use it to make a name off themselves. So yeah, be careful. Like you say, with some wicked little fights and performances last week. Hopefully this week we get some little surprise performances. There's a couple of guys on here that could very soon be pushing their way up to kind of perennial top 15, kind of causing problems in their division. So we're going to jump into that fight card now. We don't have the structure in the order, but we're just going to go off what we have here. We'll kick off in the heavyweight division, Will. Alexander Romanov against Marcos Rodrigo de Lima. Will, what do you see in this heavyweight matchup?
Yeah, I think Romanov was supposed to fight in Fight Island, and I watched it was kind of one of those fighters that you seen he's undefeated and he's a heavyweight coming into the UFC, and I was like, well, I'm going to go watch and see how many fights are out there, and his whole entire fight career was out there. So once I started watching, I just kind of got into watching every fight of his through his whole entire career, which is nice. It's actually something that guys that come into the UFC don't usually get that. You maybe get a couple of fights, and he's got 10 fights on there through that. I think it was that Eagles promotion that he fought in. So it was nice to actually see everything, and you can definitely see the improvements he's made. The guy's a bit of a wild man, strong grappler, will throw some some wild strikes as well, and he's got some power there. So I was going to fade him. I was going to bet Tybura against him. I thought Tybura was a really good underdog bet in that fight, but you can see that he's made big jumps in skill from his first fight, second fight, and then his mid fights to his late fights in that company. So he's a dangerous grappler. De Lima's dangerous guy with his power and his jiu-jitsu, but I think he gasses bad. And when you watch Romanov, even though he's got a lot of finishes against kind of lower caliber opposition, I think he can go pretty hard for the majority of the fight as well. So for me, I've got Romanov. I think he can grapple his way. I think the more grappling does will tire out Peugeot de Lima, and I think that will pay dividends as we get into 2 and 3. And I actually think he could probably stop him and get him out here. So I've got Romanov for the win there, and he's still an underdog over here in the UK, which is kind of surprising because the line's started to move towards him being the favourite. So might not be a bad little underdog bet there.
I'm with you, Will, on that one with the Romanov pick. I think he's got the... Do you know one thing I liked about watching his videos? His physique. That
it's changed. Yeah.
Big time, hasn't it? Like, he's gotten really good nick.
Yeah.
He looked like Big Country, just really clearly was overweight, just huge, and he's dropped a load of weight off, trimmed up a bit more. Now, ladies and gentlemen, don't get me wrong, when you see him, you'll think he looks big, but if you watch his tapes previously, he just looked a bit too fat. He had too much excess. He's trimmed down a big time, and you can see he's got a big frame underneath there, big, strong frame. Like you said, well, he throws like those jumping front kicks and all sorts. And do you know what? You think if that hits you, he's a 265 man. He's not a small heavyweight. He's a guy who makes 265. So you got to think De Lima is a guy who just couldn't be bothered cutting down to 205 and middleweight anymore. He just like to be a big guy. And like you said, well, he does gas a bit quick. He throws everything in his punches, though. So you've got to be like Romanov's got to be smart at the start of the fight and not engage in a brawl, because De Lima can wreck guys and can catch them and hurt them. I think Romanov should be smart enough to be able to just throw the strikes to engage the clinching and get the grappling aspect into it. But I'm going Romanov. I think he could probably get a finish in this. Maybe like a ground and pound. Get him on the ground and just start finishing him off with some strikes there. So I'm with you, Will. I'm with Romanov. And next up we have an bantamweight division. Cole Smith against Hunter Azure. Nice matchup, I think, for Hunter, in my opinion. Because for me, I felt Cole Smith, he likes to grab you, and then it limits about there. If he gets your back, he's good at taking the back. He's got good control there. But I just feel like I don't know whether he's pulling the trigger. He's a bit shy in pulling the trigger, Cole Smith. He's a bit tentative. He's more concentrating on maybe just getting the points to get the win to stay in the UFC. But I just feel like he's not showing a lot. And he's not... I don't feel he's gotten a lot of weapons in that aspect. Like, he was just holding on in his fights sometimes, just against the cage. He wasn't transitioning. He wasn't chain wrestling. He wasn't switching the doubles to singles to maybe inside-outside trips. It was almost like he was kind of resting in a way, just grappling to get the rest so he doesn't have to take any strikes. Hunter, though, has shown that as long as I think Hunter's going to be a bit... he's going to evolve a little bit in the fight game with the UFC, but as he can pick his shots a lot better, the dude's got good power. Hunter's got nice power in his hands. He's got nice speed, good footwork. He's not too bad with the grappling aspect, getting back up again. I think with Cole Smith, he can gas with the heavy grappling that he tries to go for. I think as long as Hunter can keep him off him enough, he can land enough shots when they engage in the grappling, get back to his feet or break and just carry on the fight again. I'm going to go with Hunter. I'm going like a maybe 29-28 or maybe a unanimous decision, but because Cole could get the first round with the grappling if he gets to the fight to the ground where they're a bit dry, but as he sort of sweat out a bit more in the second, third, I probably go towards Hunter's a bit favour because he does seem to have a good power in his hands. Even in the later start, like second and third, he seems to have a bit more power. He can gas because he through too much in the first sometimes, and he's a bit wild of a shot. But I think that's a lot of maturity coming in for Hunter's style of fighting. I think if he picks his shots a lot better for Cole, he should get this decision win.
Yeah, I'm on the Hunter Azure side as well. I was actually impressed in his last fight. I bet him in his last fight against Kelleher. And I think that it was a complete kind of 180 from his first fight in the UFC against Katona. He realised that Katona had deficiencies in his grappling and he used that there. But then you seen that he's obviously been working in his hands. I just think he got too carried away, and the power and just the experience of Kelleher came through because he was landing shots.
Yeah.
His chin and his defence was lacking. And against a guy like Kelleher who can crack, it ended up just being a really kind of bad game plan. At the end, it was to strike with him, and I think that if he could have mixed up, and now I know Kelleher's really, really dangerous with his chokes and stuff, but I don't think he did enough of that, and his striking looked good. So when you look at Cole Smith here, he's got an advantage over Cole Smith, but Cole Smith is a big bantamweight, like a 6 foot. He's a unit if he gets on top of you, so I'm a little bit worried that early on that if he could maybe find a back or a ride out there. But Hunter has shown that he's a good grappler. I think that's his base, is his wrestling and his grappling. Striking wise, I give it to him. I think he can mix it up. To me, Cole Smith, I just don't know whether he's got the weapons to really hurt Hunter on this spot here. So for that, I'm going to go Hunter. I'm still pretty high on him, even though he lost via a vicious knockout last time. But I think he's got more than enough tools here to beat Cole Smith, who I think is very tough and very game. But I just think Hunter's maybe got a little bit too much for him at this point.
Nice, bro. Next up, we have in the lightweight division, we have Jalin Turner against Thiago Moisés. Juicy lightweight fight outside the top 15. That's something about the lightweight division. You get some great matchups, and it's a tremendous little fight. I love this matchup. Will, what are you seeing, bro?
Good fight. Really good fight. I think it's good matchmaking, kind of putting these two together at this spot. When you look at Jalin Turner, the guy's got a lot of like physical gifts, and he is still young. He's still like 24, 25, I think he is. So once I think he starts to put it all together, I think he can be a massive problem for a lot of people. But I still think he's a work in progress. I still do think he's a little bit early in his UFC tenure. But the guy's earned his spot by going to Dana's show and winning. And he's been, was he 500 in the UFC since coming into it. So you can see where his skill set is, and it's his striking. He's so long, and he can get like a 77-inch reach in the lightweight division. That's some serious reach in that division, and he uses it very well. Yeah. He does, and he used it in his 2 fights that he's won via stoppage. He uses them very well, and you can see they hurt once they start to land. They really, really hurt opponents. I still think he's a little bit susceptible to getting taken down. I think that's somewhere that I think Moisés can get him. Not that he's known as a wrestler by trade, but if he can somehow clinch up and maybe get a trip takedown, I think that's where he can win this fight. If it stays on the feet, you can see with Turner's length, he could definitely catch him at the end of strikes. And Michael Johnson was absolutely picking him, like he was destroying Moisés in that first round. He's a far faster guy than what Jalin Turner is, but Turner's got a big physical advantage with that reach. So anytime you've got that in your back pocket, then I think that he can use that to his advantage. When I look at Turner, to me, I think Moisés needs to grapple here. I think that he's the black belt. He can get the fight to the ground. I think that when you look at Turner, when you look at his kind of takedown defense, to me, kind of seems to kind of go for like guillotines instead of really stopping the takedowns or stopping like getting underhooks or something like that. He will maybe attack instead of trying to kind of get underhooks and such. And you kind of seen that in the Frivola fight a little bit. My pick's Moisés, but I'm not super confident in the spot. I'm seeing a lot of people betting Jalin Turner, and like the number I think is kind of high. But like I say, Jalin Turner, once he starts to put it all together, I think will be. He could be a bit of a problem but I think this kind of matchups. I'm surprised. Like I said, I like the matchup. I'm kind of surprised to put them together. I thought he might have got someone else out there. It's not a fight I would have put together, honestly. But when I seen it, I was like, oh, that's a decent fight. I like that. Dangerous guy. I've got Moisés via kind of grappling and his jiu-jitsu a little bit. I think that even though And you look at Turner, he stops on Favola's attacks on the ground as well. I think Moisés is just a little bit more, I was going to say decorated on the ground, but I just think he's a little bit more dangerous maybe than what Favola is down there. So I'll take Moisés via maybe a submission, kind of late decision, but wouldn't surprise me if Turner pulled this one out either.
I'm going to go with Moisés as well. I think one thing that Moisés got, he has got a good counter strike. He hits hard with his counters. I think that Jalin Turner hasn't quite got that 77-inch reach nailed down yet in the lightweight division. He should be able to stand away from guys and pick away. I just feel like he hasn't quite got the range nailed. I think a bit more boxing. If he did, I think if he had like a person who could focus on his boxing skill set, work on his striking bit, get that range a bit tighter, I think he could be a real force, like you say, Will, in that division with the striking. But I just need him to work on that little aspect of it. But as a whole, I think Jalin Turner, as you know, he's been stopped a few times in his professional career with TKOs or knockouts, and it's something to be wary of in the UFC though. For me, Moisés, I know the Michael Johnson fight, he was getting pieced up in the first round. Michael Johnson does that to guys, and then in the second round, his corner was like, just grab him, drag him, submit him. And he literally, that is exactly what he did. Took, a minute, I think it was, not even that, 30 seconds of it. Literally got him to the ground and got the submission. So, like you say, the Demir Ismagulov fight, that was really tough for Thiago Moisés as well, because he was just second to the punch. But what I like about Thiago Moisés is he's happy to stay standing for a bit. He's happy because he's wanting to learn to trade. He's learning to strike in the fights as well. So he's accepting that he's not the better striker, and he's like, right, I'm going to accept this. I'm going to try and fight, and then if I can't, I'll go for the takedowns and grapple aspect. I think that he could definitely pull this off, Thiago Moisés. I think he'll stay standing with Jalin Turner. If the fight doesn't work in his favour, just grab him, drag him, and get him to the mat. I do think Jalin Turner is potentially vulnerable for getting stopped, for getting hit. But I like Jalin Turner as well. I do think he's a really good fighter. But I'm going to Thiago Moisés. I think that he's probably just got a bit more of an edge in the finishing department. I feel like he could probably get Jalin Turner down because he's got such long legs as well. They're just there for a double leg shooting in. So I'm going to go with Moisés. Probably second round submission. I think first round would be like a Michael Johnson fight. Can't get the punches landed and then gets grappling for the takedown for the submission. And that's my pick. And next up we have, Will, in the featherweight. It's featherweight division, yeah. Brian Kelleher is fighting at 145. He's not going to bother dropping to the 135. Replacement coming in. It was Ricky Simone, but he's been pulled out for whatever reason. And we have Kevin, it looks like, never had a dad. Is his name, but it's not. It's Natividad. All right. I've never had a dad, but his name isn't that. So bless him. Short notice fight. Dude fought on LFA. Very good regional fighter. It is the big question: can he make that step up, fighting Brian Kelleher? I think stylistic wise, it works well for Brian Kelleher because Kevin's going to be happy to stand up and strike with him. Kevin's nice on the feet. He's got good counters, good time with his punches. He's obviously young in his career in that aspect compared to Brian Kelleher, who's been around and fought the who's who, so to speak, of the bantamweight division. The £10 for Brian Kelleher might make a difference when he's not cutting. It might help him. It might improve his kind of conditioning. He might feel like he has a bit more energy, a bit more output. I can't comment if that's true or not, but it's something that you got to think about. It might help Brian Kelleher not having to drop down to 145. But as a whole, Brian Kelleher, he lost to Cody Stamen, grappler. Beat Hunter, who stood and banged with him. Odie as well, got the submission win on that one. But as a whole, I like Brian Kelleher in this fight. I feel like UFC experience. The dude's an active guy. I was questioning about whether he still had it because he kind of looked like he was losing it. I just don't think he's an elite guy. I think Brian Kelleher is a solid, like maybe top 30, top 15 guy. I wouldn't even put him top 15. I'd say like 30 to 16 rankings. Brian Kelleher is. He's a tough egg. He's a tough out in the division. And I think Kevin's going to he'll have a great opportunity to get a win, but I think he might fall short in this one. I think if I'm Brian Kelleher, I try to drag this kid down deep waters and just overwhelm him and try and get him in a dogfight and try and land those bombs on him. So I'm going to go Brian Kelleher for this one, potentially decision win.
Yeah, Kevin's someone I've knew about for a little bit, but his fights don't really kind of ring off the top of my head, so he's someone that I need to kind of look into a little bit more. But good record. He's pretty much fought his last 4 or 5 fights, I think, in LFA. So if you're constantly getting fights there, you're going to get yourself an opportunity, I think, in the UFC. And he's fought some fairly decent guys as well. The Strada guy, I know there was a fight he was in before. I can't remember off the top of my head who it was against, but he had a bit of a back and forth with, and it was a really, really good fight. So like I said, I'm not really clued up in him 100%. I'm going to watch a couple more fights. Kelleher to me is a tough guy to come in and face because he is a guy. I mean, he's been around the UFC for the longest time now. He's fought some good guys. He's got some big power. He's got, like I said before, he's got some good chokes. He's beaten a couple of fairly decent guys. I think Azure's a good win, even though I thought that Azure was kind of winning that fight. But he can change things like that. So he's got match, and like I said, I always seem to fade the guy. I actually thought he had a good chance of beating Ricky Simone in his last fight. So the pick would be Brian Kelleher, but like I said, I'm going to look into Natividad a little bit. I think that he could potentially be live in this spot, but coming in short notice, I think Kelleher has to be the pick, in my opinion. Just a lot of experience, like coming into 35 fights, more UFC experience. I think he's got more weapons to kind of win fights. So Brian Kelleher's going to be my pick for that one there.
Interesting middleweight bout next. We have the blanket in Bartosz Fabiński against Andre Muniz. Is it Muniz it's pronounced?
Muniz, yeah.
Yeah. Is the jiu-jitsu wizard going to mess up Fabiński's game plan? What do you think is going to happen, bro?
Yeah, well, when you look at Fabiński, like, his game is strong with his takedowns. It's serious. Yeah. Like, it really is serious. The human blanket, it's crazy. Has zero striking, but that grappling and his strength is, hey, it's world. I don't want to say it's world class, but it's very good, and it's going to win himself a lot of fights in the UFC against certain opponents. But I think Muniz is like a very dangerous fighter with his jiu-jitsu. He's very crafty, and he's very well versed down there. You can see that if you watch back a majority of his fights. Once he gets there, he knows what he's doing. He knows where he's moving to next. So he's very, very good. I do think he's got the advantage on the feet, even though I think that Bartosz will be kind of garnering, going for hips, going for double legs, try to get him up against the cage, try to make it dirty. Now, I think he will get him down because Bartosz, for the majority of the time, he will get people down. No unless you kind of catch him in something like Preux did, really. But I mean, he threw Emil Meek around, he threw Arbina around, he threw McClellan around. But
Darren
they guys
Stewart.
had, Darren Stewart, I keep forgetting about that fight because it's what's in the UFC. But the guy's strong, but I don't think he's faced anybody with like this. Well, maybe outside of maybe Tractor Pizares, who's got definitive jiu-jitsu skills, and that's what he's probably going to lean on, because I don't think he's going to. There's no way this fight's going to stand up for 15 minutes where Muniz is going to win a striking decision. I just don't see that happening. I thought he had a tough fight against Araújo in his debut, got the W in that one. I thought it was a little bit close because Araújo was landing some big kicks as he usually does. But you can see his jiu-jitsu is really good. You can see his takedown game is really good. So if he can stop Fabiński from getting takedowns, and I think Muniz can maybe get him down and I think work his jiu-jitsu. So my pick's going to be Muniz, even though, again, this kind of seems like the Magny kind of situation last week where would you be surprised if Fabiński comes out here in 30-27s? Muniz, probably not, but he's got to get, he can do it. I just think Muniz is going to give him problems. I think Muniz is going to submit him. So I've got Andre Muniz submission, probably the late second, maybe in the early third round.
Yeah, my worry as well, bro. Like, say, Muniz, I don't know if he'll defend the takedown too much. Because I think he'll welcome going down. I think he might welcome and fall back into his guard. He'll pull Fabiński into his guard. And when he's in his guard, like you said, Will, the dude chains his attacks up. He will literally switch up from arm bars, triangles, to lock, armor platters, whatever's available. The dude then switched up to leg locks. He's got a lovely jiu-jitsu game, and it's threatening. And the problem with that is Fabiński can't then lay on him because he just there's too much of a threat. So then that opens up the opportunity there. Fabiński has to pass his guard to get through that threat. To open up his guard, it means it opens up an opportunity for Muniz to potentially get a submission or even reverse, get a sweep, get his back, do something to really mess up Fabiński here. I think Muniz is not too bad on the strike and on his feet. He's thrown a couple of good heavy shots. Because he just throws a little bit, like you say, a bit of reckless abandonment, because he's thinking, I'm going to throw hard, you're going to want to shoot in, and I'm happy to go to the ground. I'd be surprised, like you say, if he goes for the takedown himself, because I just think Fabiński is just going to shoot in. As soon as that buzzer goes, you know what's going to happen. You might as well just squat down, because you know what he's going to shoot and do. But I'm with you. I feel Muniz can get a submission here. Fabiński, first round, he'll be full of beans, full of energy, happy to go for those takedowns, have the power. Then come the second, third round, you get a little bit tired, it gets a little bit harder, and then that's when the gaps open up. When you're a jiu-jitsu little master like this Muniz kid is, you'll start to snap onto those submissions, and I think that's where you'll get him with like an arm bar or a triangle, something like that will open up. He'll get him in his guard and just have his way with him. So I'm going to go with Muniz in a submission win as well, bro. Next up we have in the women's bantamweight division is Sijara Eubanks against Karol, Rosa. It's not a bad matchup for Karol Rosa, this one. I think if Karol Rosa can, she can nullify any takedown attempts from Sijara Eubanks, keep it standing on the feet, I think Karol should have the advantage on this one. We saw that obviously Sijara Eubanks had issues with 125, came up to 135, and even then she was getting absolutely pieced up by Pereira, who's obviously, I don't know if she's retired or if the contract expired with, I think the contract expired with the UFC, and I don't think they've renewed it from what it looked like, because Betch posted on social media something about thanks for the UFC and the time she had, and I think it was a case of her contract wasn't getting renewed and off she goes. Now whatever Betch does, she does, but for me Sijara just didn't look that great at 135. I felt like she was not maybe, I think she was just outclassed as well probably by the girls, and I think one of the issues she's going to have here with Karol Rosa is she's going to get outclassed on the feet. She has to get the fight to the ground. Karol Rosa was obviously going to try and defend this. She's not a small girl for the weight class, Karol Rosa. I think she could absolutely nullify some of these takedowns, especially on the rounds. I thought beating Sarah and Moisés, is it Moisés or Moisés? Moisés, we'll call it Moisés. I don't think that's a great win by all accounts. I don't think Sarah's anything to write home about. So I know Sijara got the win, but she's average at best, isn't she? Well, like, come on, like Sarah, yeah, whatever. But Aspen Ladd and Betch Pereira are two solid girls in that bantamweight division, and Sijara Eubanks just did not have the best of times against them overall. And I think for Carla, she needs to get this fight standing, keep it standing, and get the strikes landed. As long as she can keep Sijara, and we've seen Sijara fades off a little bit in the later rounds. Karol's got a nice output. She's got nice leg kicks as well. She's got good inside, outside leg kicks on her. As long as she can start to land them on Sijara Eubanks, that will pay dividends in the second, third round. I want to fade on Sijara Eubanks because I never thought that much of her. I've never been that big on her, and I think did her and Karol fight in the past. Why do I feel like they fought? No, who was it? Someone's fought in the past somewhere on this card somewhere. But yeah, I'm going to go with Karol Rosa. I'm going to go for like a decision win for Karol Rosa here.
Yeah, I'm going to go Karol Rosa as well. Like after kind of Eubanks, I stupidly bet Eubanks against Betch Pereira, where I thought she had the striking advantage, but ended up kind of giving away the last two rounds and losing the fight. It's like, well, I don't really want to be back on the kind of Eubanks train anytime soon. And what I've seen from Karol Rosa in her two fights, a lot of output, a lot of striking, some heavy shots for a female, mixed in some takedowns in her last fight, I should say, in Abu Dhabi. And I kind of like what I see there. Like I say, I think she, over the course of 15 minutes, can throw more. I think she can land more. Now, I think Eubanks can also land quite a few strikes as well. So this could be very kind of close in the striking differentials. It's just going to be interesting because I think Eubanks will definitely shoot. I think she will try and get the fight to the ground if she can. Rosa is coming in, I think, on short notice. But I would much rather be on the Rosa side than the Eubanks side. I like her output, and if she can stop these takedowns, then I think she has more output than Eubanks, so I think she'll win a decision. So Karol Rosa for the win there for me.
Nice, bro. Next up we have in the welterweight division, which should be a bit of a banger. Michel Pereira against Zelim Imedov. I'm great. I'm great at murdering names. Well, I just think it's going to be a bit of a scrap. This one's going to be a good stand-up war. I think we're going to have a bit of fun on this one. What are you looking forward to on this?
Yeah, I think it's a good fight they put together, but I am not trusting Mike like Pereira. Honestly, you can't trust him.
No,
The guy's
I'm with you.
so untrustworthy. It's not even funny. It's I mean, the whole Diego thing. Diego knew what he was doing in that spot, and he was on his way to winning that fight. But don't throw stupid shit like that to give him the opportunity to even do that. And that's on Pereira. That's not on Diego. I can see why Diego was kind of getting pieced up that fight, and after that, like he kind of realised, I could get the win here. Take the win no matter what. Pretty much is what I've heard some people say. But I was fuming that night when I had money on Pereira, and I said from that spot on there, it's like I'm not having anything to do with him. Imadaev's another guy I've been completely off with. I don't particularly rate him all that highly. I faded him against Max Griffin when he came into the UFC. Then I thought he had a chance against Danny Roberts, and it was close in that fight. Danny, I thought, was just landing a little bit more, but then that was a massive shot that Danny caught him with, and that can happen when you swing as heavy as Zelim did. So, you know what Pereira's going to... I just don't think he's going to come out and fight like a boring fight, so he's going to throw some stuff. So Zelim, I think, is definitely going to get some opportunities to land some shots here. Pereira is massive for the division, I will say that, and he's very, very dense. He's huge. But I just don't see him changing up his game where... I mean, if you watch the Max Griffin fight, he used takedowns, like, in abundance in that fight. Could Pereira do that? Maybe. But I just see these two swinging leather. And I think Pereira can be hit. I think Zelim can be hit. To me, it's a bit of a toss of the coin, this one. So I'm going to go Imadaev after Pereira's stunt last time. I have trouble really picking him in this spot, but I've got no confidence in Zelim. But I'd rather be on the Zelim side. I know he probably will only do stupid shit that Pereira will. So, but that's going to be a fun fight. But I'm going to take Zelim for the win there.
I was kind of toying between the two as well, Will, just because of I don't trust either of them. Zelim, I don't trust his chin. One of the things. And then I thought, well, if Pereira just switched on a little bit and he actually, took dominance in the rounds and then threw some cocky stuff, he could probably get a good solid win here, probably get a finish and look good, redeem himself for the Diego stuff and carry on moving. But it's hard because you think, I don't know what he's going to do. I have not got a clue what this guy's going to do. He knows there's no crowd. He knows that everyone's going to be watching on TV. There's still not a lot of sports out. Still, the whole COVID thing. For example, the NFL doesn't kick off for 2 more weeks. Super excited about the NFL coming back though in 2 weeks' time. Don't know about you, Will, but woo-wee. Super stoked for that. But that's what I mean. So the UFC at the moment has still got the advantage of having a kind of little bit of a hold on the thing, and obviously with the NBA doing the protests. So Pereira will know there's a bit more eyes on the UFC a little bit at the moment. And he might take advantage just to be a bit more flashy and basically be an absolute dipstick. Absolute dipstick he'll be. But I'm going to go with Pereira because I'm just not 100% on Zelim's chin a little bit. And I think if Pereira can land 1 or 2 of those shots, Zelim could have a bit of a rough day in the office and could rock him a little bit. But I'm so dubious on this guy, Pereira. But I'm just hedging my bets. If he does anything stupid again, I'll never pick him ever again. Even if he fights Mickey Gall, if he fights CM Punk, I still wouldn't pick him. So I want to go with Pereira just because I kind of feel that he's like you said, Will, he's freaking huge for that weight class. He should be absolutely murking some dude to that. The power that kid can generate, he should be murking some guys. So I'm going to go with Pereira there. And next up we have, Will, in the women's flyweight bout. Montana de la Rosa against Viviane Araújo. Do you know what? I thought first I was very heavy on Viviane before I even watched any tape study. I'll say I immediately wrote Montana off. That would be rude of me to say that. But I kind of favoured Viviane straight away. I watched a bit of tape study and I kind of went, ooh, Montana's kind of live here, I think. I think Montana's got a bit of a chance in this fight. I think she's definitely the better of the two De La Rosas, let's put it that way. And I thought, do you know what? She didn't fight bad against Andrea Lee, who's a striker, who stands up and she can throw some good lever there. I thought she didn't do too bad in that fight. I know she beat Borella. It's Borella, isn't it? Pronounced? Yeah, it's Borella, the Italian lass. Simple fight game, simple win there. I thought, like, obviously beating Rachel Ostovich and Nadim Kasim, that's not really anything to get overly excited about. Those two girls are very beatable for anyone in the UFC in the women's flyweight division. Anyone faces any one of them two, they've got a high chance of winning. So I thought that Andrea Lee was a big step up for her, and I thought she coped okay in that fight. I know she lost it, but I think she performed all right. On her feet, she's improving her striking all the time. She is definitely getting better on that side of things. But you got to remember that Viviane is actually a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And obviously the girl she fought prior to that, before her fight with Jessica Eye, which we saw Jessica Eye just outclassed her. You know, we could see there's still a gap. There's definitely a bit of a void in the flyweight division of these girls, like your De La Roses, your Azuros. And then you've got like the girls in the top 5, maybe even top 4 of the flyweight division, where they're a bit levels above, and you've got Jessica Andrade mate fighting Kate Ellen-Kukagan. That's going to be an interesting fight. Woo, that'll be fun to see what Jessica Andrade can do. I want to see her pick her up and slam her down like Hulk style. Not that I've got just to watch Caitlin get absolutely mauled. It would be beautiful to watch that. But yeah, as a whole, I thought Viviane's got a wonderful skill set. She's got a good striking game, and she's got the good ground game. I'm going to go with Viviane on this fight. I think De La Rosa is still live. I think she's got a good skill set about her. She's got a good fight in her. She will fight for that 3 round. She's got a good effort, good tank. She can put strikes in the fight game too. She'll definitely hit back with a Juro. I think if it goes to the ground, Viviane, if she really wanted to, she can bring that skill set out. But I feel like she's got a lot of confidence in her strike in the game to be aggressive on the feet before it even goes to the mat. So I'm going with a Juro. Decision win.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm kind of struggling with this one a little bit.
It is hard.
Yeah, I think De La Rosa's live as well. And like, to be fair to Viviane Araújo, she's like, her takedown defense is kind of held up, and that's where I think Montana has to get the fight, is to the mat. But I was kind of thinking that the Jessica Eye fight, and Jessica Eye really kind of pieced her up a little bit, which is what to me at that point was a little bit of an eye opener to me, because I thought Viviane was a little bit more crisper and a little bit kind of more well rounded on the feet, and it didn't turn out that way. But I've been impressed with De La Rosa in the UFC. I think she's had some good matchups, to say the least. Because, like I say, I'm not super sold on Araújo. I mean, she's not a young girl anymore. She's like in her mid 30s. You've got someone in your mid 20s in De La Rosa who you know she'll be in the gym every single day. She'll be making improvements every single day. She's probably got her own gym, her own garage with a hobby there, so she's probably been working on stuff non-stop. Not saying that Araújo isn't, but if this fight stays standing, you have to kind of seriously consider Araújo could maybe piece apart De La Rosa, because De La Rosa, it's been getting better, her jab's been getting better, her striking just overall has been getting better, but when it comes to the grappling, I think if De La Rosa can get her down, I think that she can maybe win parts of the round through her positioning, just her wrestling in general. Like you said, Araújo's a black belt as well, so armbar wouldn't surprise me if it's an armbar from guard, something like that happens, and it seems to happen every week with women's MMA at the minute. So I'm going to take a shot on De La Rosa in this spot. I think that her wrestling could come through. I think that she might kind of fade Araújo as the fight goes on, if that wrestling kind of pays dividends. If it doesn't and it stays standing, you have to kind of really consider Araújo in this spot. But I don't mind kind of taking a shot on De La Rosa in this spot. I think that Araújo is rightly favoured. Let me bring up the betting line. Is she mildly favoured? Also, she is a big favourite actually. Oh, that's
minus 200, I'm guessing.
200, yeah. So I'll take a stab on Montana in this spot here. But like I say, again, like the Magny thing, she could stop takedowns and really piece up De La Rosa in the feet. But I'll take De La Rosa for the win here.
She's not doing too bad on the feet, Montana De La Rosa. Like say, well, she has been developing a bit better with her striking.
She makes mistakes. Like, if you watch Montana, she's made mistakes even before her UFC days, and she still kind of makes them, but she's starting to tighten them up a little bit. And I do think it's a winnable fight for her. So yeah.
work in progress she is. And I like to say, well, I thought that's what I mean. I wrote her off at first, so to speak, and then I watched the tape and went, she is live. That is I kind of just didn't know. There wasn't enough to convince me too strongly to switch my mindset. But we've got co-main event now, which we think might happen, might not happen. Might be an Ankalaev, Kutilaba, for bloody nightmare this is. So, OSP, Alonzo, Menifield. We obviously did our pick the other week. 2 weeks ago, we reckon they should just skip. If anything happens, test positive for COVID, they should wait 3 weeks, reschedule it for 3 weeks' time. But whatever. If it does happen, I'm not changing my mind. I'm going to go with Menifield again, especially now knowing he's had 2 more weeks to prep. So he's had 2 weeks to get, fit, healthier, get a big. He's just probably done cardio and pad work. He's just probably drill to get that conditioning up a little bit. 3-round fight. Man, I'm going with Menifield again. It's a short one to wrap up, but bro, are you going to stick to your same original pick, or are you going to change your mind?
Yeah, no, there's no point in me changing my pick from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah,
I was on Menifield then. I still think it's a little bit of an iffy fight because I think OSP, if he was to get him down or to get a hold of something, could submit him. I'm not overly sold on Menifield just yet, and it's in my opinion, it's a step up again against a veteran, a hard-nosed veteran who's very savvy, and he's dangerous as well. So I'm going to stick to the pick of Menifield. I think he can hurt him with the big shots. I think that OSP's definitely kind of on the latter part of his career now, and he's kind of been used as a stepping stone for some of these younger guys, and sometimes they falter and sometimes they don't. Like Alistair fell by the wayside, and so now it's Menifield's turn to see if he belongs in the rankings of the top 15 by beating OSP. But there's no point in me changing my pick from 2 weeks ago, all over a kind of COVID virus suspension. So I'll take Menifield. I'll take him via knockout in that one there.
Nice. Next up, bro, main event then time. Here we go. We have Alistair Overeem, Augusto, Sakai, Will, big boys. Big moment here because Sakai, if he beats Overeem, puts him up in the heavyweight contenders kind of margin. He gets up in that kind of big boys' names. He gets big fights then. But Overeem, if he wins, because Overeem's talked about one more run, hasn't he, on social media? I think he did it, didn't he? He said it like a few weeks back. One more time, one more run for the title. Does that give Overeem a bit of an energy thing where he's thinking, I'm going for this title now. I'm going to put a serious effort in for the run. If he loses, does he decide to retire then? So there's a big question mark for this fight, Will. What's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, like I said, I think it's good matchmaking in the UFC. Like, Overeem's a guy that you can still put in the main event. You can put these younger guys coming through, and that's what they did. And they had the whole Walt Harris thing. They had to remake that fight after last year when what happened. But and Overeem showed that he's still a force in there against these guys. That, I mean, this is a big step up for the guys coming through to be facing a guy like Overeem, because the guy's got near 70 pro MMA fights, and that's not including all the kickboxing that he's been doing as well. So the guy's got probably the most experience. Well, he probably has. Him and Olenek have probably got the most experience in being in the cage and such. So this is a massive step up for Sakai from what he's come into the UFC. I mean, your Chase Sherman, your Arlovsky. That's a lot of experience in that one there. But Arlovsky, in my opinion, is just not as dangerous in that, like as what Overeem is. To me, he has more weapons. And I think Sakai kind of got a little bit unlucky to kind of come through that fight, if I'm being honest with you. If you look at Sakai, actually, he could easily be 2-2 in his UFC tenure, because those two split decisions could have easily went the other way. Yeah. I bet him against Tybura, and I bet him against, I think I bet him maybe 3 times, and he's came through. But there's a couple of times I've been like, that could have went the other way and probably should have went the other way. The Ivanov fight, you just saw that the guy's you could hit that guy all day long and he probably wouldn't crumble. But Sakai, I like his striking. I like his choice of shots. I like his leg kicks. I do think he's dangerous with his jiu-jitsu. There's always the chin aspect with Overeem. But to me, when you look at this fight, the more crisp, more complete fighter is Overeem. I think that he picks his shots well. He's super dangerous in the clinch. I mean, and the only times that Overeem's losing is to massive power shots.
Yeah.
And I think Sakai can, if he was to put him against the cage, almost downloading him and could hit him, I think that he could definitely hurt him. But in open space, I still think that Overeem's very, very picky with his shots, because he knows if he gets countered that he could easily go out. I mean, the Rosenstruik fight, he was winning that for 24 minutes of that fight. then got caught. The Olenek fight took him out, which Olenek is kind of all or nothing. The Pavlovich fight, kind of still green in my opinion. Walt Harris, he gassed after 2 minutes of that fight. And then someone like Overeem, if you do that, you're in deep trouble. So if I'm Sakai here, I mean, really, it only takes one shot against Overeem. If you can catch him with the correct shot, you can put him down. I think Sakai's got that in his tool belt a little bit. But to me, this fight just screams Overeem fighting a safe game plan, staying on the outside, catching Sakai with shots, not engaging in close where Sakai can maybe hurt him. And to me, this has just got like Overeem either late or via decision. I think that Sakai will fight cautiously. I think that Overeem will happily have a fight like that because to me he's the more prudent striker, probably more weapons in the striking department. Now Sakai can make it close, but you never know. He seems to get these close decisions, but to me this kind of screams Alistair Overeem to win late or via decision. So I'm going to go with Overeem to continue his kind of win streak after that win over Walt Harris.
Yeah, well, it was a great point you made before about Arlovski, where Arlovski's now kind of decision guy. He's not.
Yeah, he's tough as well.
Yeah, Arlovski's tough. He'll last 3 rounds, and Arlovski now has realised that's his game plan. I beat you for 3 rounds with Suave technique, Suave know-how of cage, how to use the point system. But Alistair Overeem, like you say, well, he can finish guys, and he does finish guys. He lands. He's more accurate with the striking, far crisper striker, technical striker, and he's got submission games, and his ground and pound on top is legit too. So, like you said, it's like fighting Alistair, or something like fighting Arlovski, but with Deadly Arlovski. Overeem here, Sky cannot write Overeem off. I would like to see Overeem use his grappling in this fight. I'd like to see him use takedowns at the right times. Start the fight like you say, Will. I'm with you. I think he will do the distance game, pick the shots, take his time, not engage in kind of close combat, kind of swinging back and forth. He'll use a lot of footwork, run around the ring, using the ring space, pick Sakai off. And I think when Sakai obviously gets a little bit frustrated and tries to engage it, I think that's when Overeem can shoot for those takedowns and get on him and try to and just get on top of him, even if it's for a minute in the round. That is money in the bank. That is getting the points on the board. And it then gets in Sakai's head about the takedown. You start to then make Sakai wonder, is he going to shoot? And again, it puts him off the certain strikes. It makes him a bit tentative with the coming in a bit aggressive. And Overeem can do that. People always, like we've said it before, we'll say it a million times, Overeem gets wrote off a little bit with his grappling. People forget about his skill set there. He can get guys down and he can absolutely tear guys apart when he lands strikes on them as well as submit them. I'm hoping to see an Overeem here because he knows if he's going to go for the title in the heavyweight division, he can't just stand there and trade punches. He needs to use every skill set he's got, and one of the skill sets is the grappling here, which he has an advantage on. I'd like to see Overeem shoot in, get the takedowns. Even like if it's 2 or 3 in the whole fight, it gets in Sakai's head, gets him the win. I'm going with Overeem as well, Will. Decision win. Because I think Sakai is tough. The kid Sakai can take a hit. He's like you say, Ivanov. The pair of them just weren't going to go out. You know, the pair of them could have just went in there for 5 more rounds, and the pair of them would just. They're 2 tough guys. I think Sakai's a tough egg. I think Overeem will have a tough time putting him away. I'm going to go with Overeem decision with a mixture of grappling aspects because he could probably maybe even get the back of Sakai and probably submit him if he needed to. But I'm going Overeem. Will. It's an interesting main event because it's a 2-way story. Will, like we said, Sakai gets the win. That puts him up in that kind of right. Give me the big boy names. Overeem loses. Does he talk about retirement because he's had one more run? So every fight now for Overeem to title fight. Super interesting to see how he approaches these fights and how he fights. So I'm really excited in that manner because I want to see what Overeem can bring to the table now. That's our picks for the week. Again, give us your picks down below. Let us know what you're thinking. And we're going to go over to the betting side of things. I hope you all got money last week and paid off for you. If you've got any bets this week, drop a comment below about what bets you've got on or any bets you're thinking about. And as always, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done already. Shame on you. Hit the like button as well. It takes 2 seconds of your time because you know you love this and we love you. So, Will, what bets are you looking forward to, bro?
I've not really looked too much into the betting side of things. I'm literally just having a little look there. There was just when we were talking about the main event, you were talking there, I was looking at like the over 1.5 rounds, and I've seen some people have bet it like minus 142, which I'm thinking, that's really solid. And over here in the UK, it's minus 175, which I'm like, oh, that's actually not a bad spot as well, like a parlay piece, something like that. So with the way Overeem kind of fights, if he doesn't get you out, he can fight cautious and he can fight late. To me, I'm kind of looking forward to later in the week and seeing what Overeem is in rounds 4 and 5 or by decision. I think that might be a good line, because just looking at Overeem by decision, it's plus 525. And I got Rakic. One of the bets I made last week, and it was late on Saturday that I made it, was Alexander Rakic. And the reason I took that shot on Rakic to win by decision was because it's 3 rounds, and I thought he might be a bit cautious. And I thought he might grapple just a tiny wee bit. And it was plus 260. So I got a really good line on that one there. So that's... I always like those rounds 4 or 5 are by decision. So I'm looking at that for Overeem. Karol Rosa's minus 145, maybe. Muniz, sorry, I should say, I think he's plus 138 here in the UK. I quite like that bet because I think he's very dangerous with his jiu-jitsu. Fabiński, like I say, I think he's very crafty down there, but Fabiński's like, he could just lie in him here and he might not be able to get anything up to get creative and get a submission or anything, but I quite like that. Hunter Azure, I quite like as a parlay piece. I like the line to come down a little. And I quite like Romanov straight. Like I say, he is an underdog here in the UK at the minute. So that's something I actually quite like. So Romanov as a dog, Azure as a kind of parlay piece, Overeem over 1.5 I quite like as a parlay piece. I'm staying away from Pereira and Adamaev because it's just a what's happening in that fight. Menifield's minus 125.
That's not bad.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind the maybe the line on Moisés coming out, but I think I'll probably stay away from that fight because it's got some big things that get like anybody that's preparing for a fight, it could be a lot of problems for. So yeah, nothing too much, but I do like Romanov as a dog, and I do like some part of that main event. I just need to see where the kind of line's going to go and how they're going to open and such. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm staying around this week.
Nice, bro. Nice. And that's, again, the bets for the week, and that's our picks done. We'll be back next week for Thiago Santos and Glover Teixeira.
That's a good fight.
Woo, that's a sick little treat fight. That's going to be dirty. I want to see how Thiago Santos looks after his injury, because if he looks good and he wins, there's got to be a fight for the title there. Rakitic, Santos, maybe. You don't know what they'll do for who deserves the next title shot, because he did look good against John Jones until that injury in that fight. So he's got a place to stamp his foot down. Modafferi against Andrea Lee, interesting matchup in that one. We've also got Frank Camacho, Brock Weaver. We can imagine how that fight's going to be going. We're going to stylistically know what they're going to do there. So, handful of nice little interesting fights there. Angela Hill and Michelle Watson got moved over to this one. So did Karma Worthy against Ottman Azaltar. That got moved over. Sabina Mazo was fighting on against Kish. You know, there's Ed Herman again. He's still there. There's a load of fights on there. A load of fights to look forward to. Roberts versus Favola. Not a bad card. Not a bad card at all. Some interesting fights to enjoy watching the tape study on. Until next week, enjoy the fights. Enjoy your week. We love you all. See you soon. Boom, bro. That's what we do.